delighted this afternoon to be able to bring to you Mr. Jim Rotz. Jim and I have worked together over the years, and he is a very accomplished educator. Jim served as the principal at West Seneca High School, also had principalships in Williamsville, Kenmore, Tonawanda, and Frontier, as well as the superintendent, person in charge in Northeast School District in Pennsylvania. So Jim, we are more than delighted to have you with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with the field.
Penny, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it.
So welcome. And off we go. So our first question, we're very interested in all the leadership experience that you've had. Were there certain key initiatives or strategies that you felt made the greatest difference in working with schools, either from the principalship viewpoint, critical lens, or as the superintendent? What kinds of strategies really made things happen?
Okay, good. Penny, I think right out of the gate, the first thing is to be visible and to get out from behind the desk and to communicate with people. Even before perhaps you've landed the position, to be out communicating, networking, listening to the different constituents that are in the community or in the school district or in a particular building. So I like to encourage people right out of the gate to get out, sit down, walk around with people, talk to people, but most importantly, be the listener early on. Don't be the talker. There's to some degree some leading questions and so forth, and you all want to tell people how competent you are and maybe perhaps what you're going to do. But I think right up front, you have to show people, you have to show staff members, you have to show community members that you're going to listen to them and that you want to hear what it is they have to say. Again, I don't think much is accomplished from behind the desk. I think you need to get out and lead and be present, and for people to see you. Even people that, by the way, even people that you don't talk to, they will quickly find out that you were out there listening, talking to their colleagues, and I think that's a huge requirement right away. I think strategy-wise, next, you start to build that vision. You start to talk. You're saying some things. You're starting to let people know that you're a competent individual. You're not dominating the conversation, but you're out there in a confident manner, starting to point the troops, if you will, in the direction that you see that organization needing to go. And you start to develop that plan, if you will, right early on. And certainly I'd be looking for expertise and those people within the organization that I can see are a little more committed perhaps than others, that visually I can sense that they want to be part of the leadership team, that they want to be part of the group guiding the future direction. So I'd be painting some hope, by the way, as part of that process. Difficult days in public education and in education no matter where you are. So I'd be really wanting to be hopeful and optimistic and looking forward to my time there with them and the future that we could build. Then I'd really start early on is talking about some of the successes that I've witnessed or heard about in the district. Again, painting that positive view. I'd want to isolate some circumstances where I could highlight the job that people have done or the accomplishments that an individual or a group of individuals have been able to make. And then I think strategy-wise next, I sort of move into the challenge. What are our challenges today? And again, these are somewhat cursory, but I'd like to get these out there a little bit. I'd like to get the obstacles out there and show people, we've got some things we've got to get going. We need to get moving here now. And no matter what, whether it's dealing with the poverty or finances or school choice issues, I just want to acknowledge what those issues are as a sort of building a little bit of a fire and starting to put a little smoke, if you will, in the tent and and starting to get people moving. And I think just pretty close to all that, my strategy would be to get people together, and I said this a moment ago, but start talking about our future and where we want to head and what do we see as our primary purpose as a district or as a school. What are we trying to accomplish here? What's the role that every person has? What's our common ground? We used to talk a lot about what's our common ground here, and then just one brick at a time, if you will, start to build, and then as a little strategy that I recall was pretty successful, we would at the right moment start to ask people, okay, what do you think? Are we a good school district? Are we pretty good? Are we very good? Are we great? Are we championship? What do you think? And then I'd try and get that from a few people, and then we would talk about, well, all right, no matter where you are, even if you think we're a lousy district and don't want to say it right now, how can we get one step better? What's one more notch that we need to take to improve our status, if you will, throughout all of this? And I know that there's a ton of issues out there to be dealt with, either as a superintendent or as a high school principal. But throughout all of it, we always kept student achievement right up front. How can we improve student achievement? How can we improve literacy? How can we improve students' ability in mathematics? How can every department in the school contribute to that common focus? How can our tech ed teachers? How can our home ec teachers? Very important departments. How can our music department? What role do our custodians play? So that, again, we looked and tried to paint a picture of a common ground. What's our common ground? What are we all trying to accomplish? Those are the strategies, I think, in general that I always try to employ in both the school districts when I was superintendent and in the different districts, right, was the interim principal.
There's so much in there, Jim.
Yep.
This must be captured in a book sometime soon. It's obvious that you're very attuned to distributive leadership and making sure everybody has a contribution margin, whether you are the janitors or the bus drivers or the cafeteria workers, et cetera. So everybody is directly or indirectly linked to the best things that we can do to support our students. I wanted to ask a little bit more about lighting a fire, because I know so many superintendents and principals that I speak with who say, well, we have this wonderful positive culture. And then I'll ask, well, do you have certain challenges? Yes, but we kind of keep that under wraps because we've worked so hard to develop the culture and we don't really want to upset things by, being, high profile with our challenges. But you're saying the opposite. You're saying, go ahead and light the fire. And yes, we are razor's edge because you have, fire lighting going on, if you will. And then you're balancing that. We want to keep the strong culture. Tell us a little bit about, how you develop the courage to do that and what would happen with your colleagues when you were fire lighting.
Yeah, it does take some courage, and a few times I certainly thought, man, I'm crazy here. But you just have to do it. I mean, if you want what's best for children, if you really want what's best for children, you've got to take it on. You don't want to be a bull in a china shop. Let me be very clear about that. And it takes some moxie to move forward. But for example, we had a little saying amongst our teachers that we would talk about. Listen, as it relates to Regents examinations, if your scores are above average in our building or our district, you have a professional responsibility to leave your door open, put a welcome sign to your colleagues, say, come on, and I'll be happy to tell you what I did this year. If you are below average or slightly below average, you have a professional responsibility to get up, get off your seat, go into those rooms and talk to those individuals. And nobody's going to shoot anybody here, but we're going to encourage you. We're going to nudge you to get in that room and to ask each other some questions and talk a little bit. Certainly the data piece. I mean, we just looked at data, and we would put data out for people to examine. And I can tell you a little story. I used to have a friend who taught in the science department. Early on, we would talk about individual students. The person would go down the guidance and find the lowest IQ score and a couple of the students' records, and then I would go down and find their highest IQ score and bring that up and say, look at this one, look at this one. To that gentleman's credit, he came around. I mean, he came around, and we turned him into a believer. And so I think a lot just has to do with establishing a culture and a climate that, again, is focused on continuous improvement, that's focused on student achievement, just everybody a little better, a little better, a little better, and a can-do attitude. We can do this. Let's do it together. How can we help each other? Oh, boy, this one didn't go well. All right, let's move on. And just continually nurturing, stroking people, encouraging people, celebrating successes. I don't think I said that just yet. Really highlighting and celebrating some of the successes in the district or in the building.
You know, I'm thinking about, with all of your principalships and the superintendency, there must have been so many different change initiatives that you've led people through and, you know, come out the other side. All of your experiences and considering change process, were there any, of course, without naming districts, but were there any initiatives that you were trying to put in place where absolutely there were roadblocks and people were saying not going to go? What were some of the most difficult change initiatives that you led teams through?
Working this through in my head here, I mean, one of the things that we would often say, listen, there's no problem out there that isn't solved in some district someplace. There's no problem out there that isn't solved in some district someplace. So let's figure it out here. And, you know, maybe we have a little different twist or a little different turn. But as I said early on, there are going to be a lot of issues. I mean, these are challenging times. But just knock one out of the way and maybe another falls. So I think a lot of that is about relationships and listening to what people are saying. Sometimes it's not even a huge deal. It's just listening to them and letting them vent a little bit, and then saying, okay, what are we going to do? And listening.
Mm-hmm. And always pushing, as you're saying, no challenge that we can't handle. That's really great advice around, with the gazillion schools that are out there across the US, someone must have approached this problem prior. So how can we benchmark? How can we use this information and kind of weave it into what we're doing? I'm really interested, when you would meet with your leadership team or your school-based planning team and you were behind closed doors in a conference room, what was that like? What kinds of things did you discuss? How did you, you know, in particular, get them to take a higher profile role? Because as I remember you so well, you were very, very high profile in your schools. How did you get
we were straightforward, and again, we took a hard look at data, and we would put data out in front of everyone and talk about the data, talk about the third grade reading scores, the fourth grade reading scores. Where are we here? We would just try and be upfront and hit the nail on the head, if you will, without making people feel defensive. But we're going to talk about these things because the only way we're going to get better, we are going to help each other. I mean, if we're going to talk about a vision for success and a vision for uh, what our student achievement and culture is going to look like, then we have to talk about it. We've got to talk about it. We've got to support each other. Part of supporting each other is building that capacity in each other to handle various issues. So we need to take that challenge on, build the capacity, help each other. You know, we had a saying, I'm just thinking here, we had a saying as it relates to all this, bring it on. Just bring it on. You know, all these things are coming in. All right, all right. We're not going to sit here and say, woe is me. Bring it on. Let's see what you got. Give us your toughest. Let's see what we can do. Because I think, and you mentioned your question there about when the doors close, we talked about the following frequently. As soon as we say we can't do it, as soon as we say this is hopeless, we can't get there, what right do we have when school choice movements or other schools come in and start recruiting our kids? I mean, what? You know, as soon as we say we can't, why shouldn't other people have an opportunity that are coming in with a positive attitude saying, hey, let us try because we think we can?
Yeah, and that had to be really, early on, a number of years ago, controversial at the high school level, sharing data around courses. I can, knowing our secondary people so well, who we absolutely love, but they're very protective, right, of their content area. And here you are, up close and personal, just sharing the data sets. And what's really great about what you're doing, Jim, pardon me for just a moment, was you made that the norm. That was normal. So it would be, out of bounds to not share that data. You made that a regular part of quote unquote how we do business.
So, so let's think about this. The aspect that all the teachers like is, all right, let's say that we're talking 10th grade math. Well, the 10th grade math teachers, they want to see what's going on in ninth grade. Who's doing what? Where are we here? Because I am going to now be receiving your students are coming to me as the 10th grade. We have 3 10th grade teachers, 3 ninth grade teachers. We want to see this, but not, yes, you're right. Now it's the 10th grade teacher's time in the barrel. All right, how are you doing here? But one of the other issues in having these conversations is I think you can bring out the need for an aligned curriculum. I think way too many principals and some superintendents, but I think principals need to get involved in the alignment of the curriculum. And I think we can't be outgunned. Because we don't know each content area as well as those professionals that are certified in that area. We've got to sit down with those groups and put them all together, listen, and again, we had 3 ninth grade math teachers sending students to 2 10th grade math teachers. We needed to be certain that we're aligned so that both those 10th grade teachers, no matter where their students come from, which of the 3, that they know what they're getting and where are they strong when they get to us and where are they weak. How about that feedback back to the ninth grade from the 10th grade teachers? We're a team. We are working on this as an organization. No independent contractors that I know of. Everybody's paid for by the district, right? Including me. So we work together as a team and we try and coordinate this. And I find that to be a huge challenge, a huge nut to crack. But aligning the curriculum in your school or your school district so that we have a nice, tight, cohesive curriculum. The principal needs to get involved. I wanted the directors to come into our building and to work with us. I wanted that to happen, but you can't pass that off onto somebody else as the building principal. You need to be there.
Well, curriculum, I mean, that's what Marzano talks about with a guaranteed viable curriculum creates the opportunity to learn. So if we don't have that in place, the how of, teaching and learning, how we deliver is not going to be effective because we're not delivering the kinds of things curriculum wise that are linked to the standards, which obviously then link to the summative assessments. I'm wondering, of all of the things that you've been successful at, d- can you point to any one that stands out as, wow, I can't believe we accomplished that? Is there something that comes to mind there?
Um, I just think I was very fortunate. I'll tell you, I was very fortunate. We had excellent administrators to work with. People formed a team. Our teachers came on board, some right away, some it took a little bit, it took some time. But I would say to you that I was pretty fortunate to work with some very talented people that wanted to do well. You've got to get out in front and show them that you're both a great manager and a great leader. You've got to take care of the day-to-day things that might allow the organization to be more efficient and more organized and create a better teaching climate. And you better be leading the organization and keeping them focused on the major target, and that's all students should leave a little bit smarter than when they came in. Plain and simple. And how do you do that? You put time into it. You build the capacity in the teachers to achieve that goal. You focus everybody on that goal. That's a role that we all play, and then you celebrate the successes that those individuals accomplish, because it really is their accomplishment.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you're saying that, Jim, because in dealing with so many, hundreds of schools across the country, every now and then you'll hear people designing these interesting kinds of activities to kind of build culture, whether it's coffee with a principal or some sort of special event. And that's all fine, well, and good. But when you talk about really what energizes staff and keeps them going and feeling absolutely terrific at the close of every day, ready to come back the next day, when their students are successful, just as you're saying, because you're holding everybody accountable for everything that happens, with the students and weaving all that together, grade 9 to 10, 11, and 12. So those activities are all, fine, well, and good. But when short-term results, you're seeing a difference with your students, that makes teachers glow, and it's so kind of self-reinforcing. The whole reason why we went into education, right, is kind of re-energized every day.
Absolutely. Yep. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's just inspiring for them. It's really inspiring for me, and I think that loop continues. If you can get that rolling, it just goes higher and higher. And again, the challenge to, where are we now? What type of district or school do you think we're at? I don't really care what you say, by the way. You could say we're here, or way up here. But then the piece would be, do you think we could reach the next level? Is that possible? I think most people are willing to accept that challenge. And then they have to see you, not behind your desk. They have to see you out and about. They have to see you networking. They have to see you talking. They've got to see you out there making things happen. And that then inspires them to do a little bit more as well. We used to talk about, have everybody having one hand on the rope. Now, at times, we ask everybody to have two hands on the rope, pulling the rope in the direction we want to go, right? We didn't like it if you had two hands and a foot on the rope, because now, your life's out of balance. We didn't even like it if you had two hands every single second. Always one, a lot of times two, but let's get everybody doing that. If somebody has no hands on the rope, what does that cause? what challenge does that create for other people that are trying to pull our ship along?
And I bet for those folks who had, I love the analogy, one hand on the rope or two hands on the rope.
Yeah, yeah.
We had colleagues with hands up, no hands on the rope. I bet there was some peer pressure, right?
No question. Absolutely no. Absolutely. And especially when you talk about, listen, we have some people that I don't want them to burn out. We're going to burn some of our colleagues out, and we don't want that to happen.
So good. So, and our last question here, as we're coming to closure, we have a lot of challenges in education. Yeah, we have a lot of, a lot of opportunities. So, kind of leaving here today, best advice. What would you say to our school leaders? I guess that category in particular is best advice as we're entering into this next academic year. Everybody's very hopeful. That bell rings at the beginning of September or earlier for some other states. Off we go. Best advice from Jim Rotz.
Hire good people. Hire good people. When you get the chance to hire a person, hire good people. Take whatever time it requires, get good people, because good people will influence others in the organization, pay enormous benefits. Every single chance you get, hire the very best people you can. And if you have to wait to get that very best person, then you wait. Number two, certainly is get out, communicate. I know a lot of people that are a lot smarter than I am, but they all don't communicate really well. And I just think to be in one of these district leadership positions or building level leadership positions, you need to be able to network. You need to be able to develop relationships. You need to engage people in conversation. You need to show that you're listening. You need to show them that you're there for them. You need to be able to articulate the vision, your vision, but more importantly, the group's vision that we've developed as a team. Where are we? You need to be able to articulate the beliefs that have been established by the building or district leadership team. Here's what we're all about here. And what's our common ground? We make life better for young people. We enhance the future of young people. That networking and communication piece, and certainly I would say, boy, we better be, with all the challenges that are there, we better be celebrating our successes. And not always coming in every day with here's 3 challenges. We better talk about, like, hey, this has really gone well. We did this well. But to the point that you brought up earlier, that's not all we're going to talk about. Listen, it's not all, tea and honey here. There's some things that we need to put on the table and talk about. Is it all right if we do that? Can we have an honest conversation here about what we see? And on we go.
Crucial conversations. And, testimony to how strong the relationships are, and that you've been involved in building. We haven't been in contact for, I can't even guess how many years. One phone call, ladies and gentlemen out in the audience, to Mr. Bratz, and would you please, be part of our interview process and share your information expertise with the field? His answer was, I'm in. I'm all in right away. So,
well, thank you for that. That's very kind of you, Penny. I just wanted to say something. Thought just came to me. Not only did we bring administrators and teachers together and so forth and talk about data, but we would bring our building reps from 8 or 9 different buildings, our union reps in with the union president, and we would sit down and talk about, all right, here's where it's at, here's where we're at, here's our poverty level, here's our levels of achievement, here's what we're working on. No bad guys or bad girls in the group. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. I want your help. I need your help with this. If we're going to take on challenges such as school choice and different issues. We need to be the best that we can possibly be, and we need to do that together. And I have to tell you, they were great. They were absolutely great. Nothing threatening, just factual. They were totally awesome.
Yeah, and you know what? That's another just pointing out really courageous thing to do, because so often, with unions and associations, we put ourselves in boxes or categories and do the let's not talk because we're going to get involved in some sort of floor fight. But you brought everybody in and assumed the positive, that we're all here, on the same mission, and we want to roll in the same direction. Everybody has a different kind of role in the organization. We respect the fact, union officials, that you are, here to improve conditions for our teachers so that they can work their magic. But you weren't afraid to have, as you said, the crucial conversation with the associations and bring everyone together. So there was no such thing as this camp and that camp. Wonderful. So Jim, I thank you. I thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to see you again and hear your thoughts. And I know the field will really benefit from all of the great information you shared today. So I thank you.
Again, thanks for the opportunity. I love being here. I love the conversation.
As did I. You're welcome.